Layer masking in Photoshop is something that I think all photographers who are going to edit should know how to do. It's going to save you time and effort. It's going to help your stress level when you need to fix something in your photo. And it's really a lot easier to do than a lot of people think it is. When people would tell me to mask something off of my photo, I had absolutely no idea what they were talking about. It was just a bunch of Chinese, basically, to me. It made no sense. You're basically painting your changes on and off is the, I don't know, the short version of it. If you come over into your adjustment tab, and if you're not seeing this, if you click on window and click adjustments, it'll pop up for you. All of these will make a layer mask for you, and you can get to these exact same things with this little half moon button, your fill or adjustment layer. They're all the exact same thing. I'm just gonna do random stuff to this photo. This is already edited, just to give you a basic idea of how this works. So let's say I want to change my exposure. Obviously this is way too bright on the baby, but as soon as I clicked that button, it gave me a layer mask. This is a layer mask. This little white box is basically telling you that there are going to be changes made or have been made. Now you can take your paintbrush and use the opposite color of this box, which would be black, and paint off areas where you don't want this. So if I want to brighten up my background and it made my baby too bright, I can paint it off. Now with this little eye right here, I can click this off and see my before and my after. Now if, say I painted on the blanket and I didn't mean to, instead of having to go back into my history panel and go to my previous action, I can reverse my paintbrush. So I would make it white and I would take it off, and this goes for the entire picture. You can take it off of everywhere, just back and forth. Black puts it on, white takes it off. It's actually very, very simple, and instead of having to use actions to do this and whatever, you can do it yourself. And this works for actions as well. If you ever play an action that has these little boxes, that's exactly how it works. Is you just take your paintbrush, excuse me, you flip it to the opposite color and you paint. Now the other thing that you can do with a layer mask is make changes, and if you don't want to see them, or you want to be able to paint it on a specific area, you click Control I, and all the changes that you made are still on your photo, but you can't see them. They're actually hidden under this box. Now I'm going to do this again and watch this box. It goes from white to black. It reversed it for you. So now instead of painting an off baby or blanket, I would just paint it on baby or blanket. The other nice thing about layer masking is you have the option of turning your opacity down. So if I make a change and say I think this looks good when I first do it, and then when I'm done I realize that maybe that blanket is a little too bright, I don't have to start over and find a new exposure that I like. I just come over here, I grab my opacity, and I turn it down until I like it. Now, the other thing that you can do with a layer mask is this little icon right here. It's basically where I made my changes. So if you double click this, it will bring back up what you did. So if I want to go even brighter because I didn't go bright enough, I can still make additional changes to that. I don't have to start over and I don't have to do a new one. I can still work on the one that I originally was working on. Now if, let's say I have my exposure on my blanket where I like it and I want to make another change, but I want to be able to come back to my exposure and change it later if I want to, all you do is click on background and it basically starts you over. And you can go and do a completely new adjustment. So let's say I want to do my levels now. And I turn my blacks up. Well, now all of a sudden, I don't like my exposure. It's still there. You can still go back to it and change anything that you want to. And then you can come back to your levels and do the exact same thing. So now you have multiple changes that you can make all at the same time. Now to get it even a little more advanced, if you make changes to one and you like the way they look, let's say I outline baby. I don't want to have to outline baby again. I messed up. I did the wrong color brush. Let's pretend I went in here and I got really specific and got all of his little hairs and got it exactly how I wanted it. I don't want to have to spend 5 more minutes doing the exact same thing on my next adjustment. So if you click this box and you click Alt and hold Alt, click and drag, it'll make those exact same changes for you in the next box. And you can do this multiple times over and over and over. And all you have to do is click, hold Alt and drag. And it will do the same thing on every single one of them for you. Now let's say I run an action. Let's see. I'm trying to think of which one I know has different levels. Bear with me while my slow computer processes all of this. Okay, this action has a ton of different things that I can choose from, and it's got your boxes for you already. Basically, if I click on this box and I switch my brush to the opposite color, I can now use this action, and it's really hard to see because baby skin is already smooth, but you can kind of see it working. You do the exact same thing here that I showed you before. You just click and do whatever it is that you're wanting to do. Now none of these would be use the exact same thing. I'm not going to use this on the entire baby and then do the same thing for, you know, whitening teeth. But you get the basic idea. You come in here, you change it, and when you're done, you turn it down. What I showed you before was you're making your own layer mask. You're doing it yourself. An action that gives you different options like this has already done it for you, but they work the exact same way. I can come in here and do baby skin nice and soft and think, okay, well, this is just too strong. All I gotta do is turn it down. Maybe it's not strong enough, so I turn it up. And I can invert it. I mean, it all works the exact same way. Now that I've inverted it, it did the opposite. Instead of seeing where I painted it on, now you see that area as being painted off of, and everything else is showing the effect. Same thing. Now this is a lot to take in, so if you need to rewind and pause and practice over and over, I suggest you do that, because once you get the hang of it, it's second nature. It's really not difficult. It's very, very easy after you've done it a couple of times, but it is kind of like a second language when you're first trying all of this. But I promise you that once you get the hang of it and you understand how it works, your workflow will change 100%.